Happy New Year. I'm actually on vacation in Vancouver, British Columbia. And this video, I'm going to be just doing a little bit of cityscape photography, walking around, checking out the city, checking out some of the sights and some of the parks. I don't usually do gear reviews or anything like that, but I got something that I think a lot of you will find interesting. When I go on vacation, I'm not going to take my huge backpack and all my lenses and carry around 30 or 40 pounds worth of camera gear. So I decided to look into a lens that would be able to do pretty much everything. Since I was on vacation, I didn't spend any more time vlogging while I was in Vancouver. We did have a fantastic time, ate some amazing food, and spent time exploring Stanley Park and the Capilano Suspension Bridge Park before heading home to our Vancouver in Washington. Stick around to the end because I'll share some of the photographs that I captured with my new lens while in Vancouver, BC. Normally when I'm out shooting landscape photography or on a workshop or I'm going somewhere that I've got to take all my gear, I'm looking at a 100 to 400, I've got a 24 to 105 and a 16 to 35 that covers pretty much the trifecta for landscape photography, everything from a really wide angle all the way up to 400 millimeters. And then I take this big backpack with a giant tripod and I carry my filters and batteries and all kinds of extras in this large, heavy, very heavy backpack once I put all this stuff in it. So there has to be a solution in order to take really good photographs without having to carry all of this. I'm sure you've heard of the super zooms, those lenses that can go from a pretty wide angle to telephoto all in one package. And it used to be 10 years ago that those lenses were pretty awful. But just like camera technology has come a long, long way in the last 15 years, so has lens technology. And Sigma and Tamron have both released some super zooms that I think are pretty good. So for this trip, I went out and I purchased the Sigma 20 to 200 lens, and this is it, with a variable aperture of 3.5 to 6.3. And look how small it is. It's extremely light compared to even one of those lenses that I usually carry, and it's just much, much smaller. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that, yeah, it's going to be soft on the corners, it's going to have chromatic aberration issues, yada, yada, yada. I get it. But today, in this video, I'm just going to take it and I'm going to do some testing here in this park. Not going to be some amazing photos, but I want to really push the limits and I want to compare it directly against my other lenses that cost a whole lot more. This was not provided for me. I bought it with my own money. It's not a sponsored video. This Sigma lens runs about $900 unless you can get a sale or some kind of rebate that might be going on. But I paid $900 for the lens, and today I'm going to compare it against the ones that cost 2 to 3 times the price. Now for this test, I'm going to have everything in manual mode. I'm going to set the white balance to cloudy because it's just an overcast, cloudy day. So none of those variables are going to change. I'm going to shoot all of my tests at f8 because f8 should give me my sharpest image without going to any extremes on all the lenses, and all the lenses have f8. I'm also going to shoot at the exact same focal length with the exact same subject across all 3 lenses. Now I'm not going to bore you with footage of every single test because it's just going to take a little bit of time, but I'll fast forward through some of it, and once we're done with taking all the photos, we'll put them on the computer and do some pixel peeping to see if this 20 to 200 is worth the $900 or if I'm better off hauling an extra 30 pounds worth of gear. Start at the long end of the lenses. This is 200 millimeters, some photos of some ducks that were moving in the pond. And obviously, since they're moving, they're not going to stay in the exact same place. But I tried to pick two images that put the ducks in approximately the same distance as best I could. And the Sigma is on the left, and my Sony 100 to 400 is over here on the right. Obviously, this is a zoomed out version, the full frame, and looks pretty good. Can't really tell any difference, and I'm sure with YouTube, you won't be able to really tell anything, but the proof's going to be when we actually zoom in. So let's zoom in on both of these and take a look. At f8 on both of these lenses at 200 millimeters, my depth of field is not going to be super great. I was focused on obviously this duck right here in the front with the Sigma lens, and the sharpness looks absolutely spot on. I mean, it's nice detail in the feather, the beak, the eye. It all looks nice and crisp, even little water droplet on the top of his head and down here in the feathers, and there's a little water droplet here on the water. Over here on the 100 to 400, taking a look at this. Again, this is no editing has been done whatsoever. This duck looks like it's obviously it's further away, so it's also a little bit more in the shade. You can tell the water's darker, and so we got a little bit of difference there. But obviously the 100 to 400 looks really sharp as well. Looks really good. And you know, looking at it on my computer screen really close, I would say that the 100 to 400 maybe the smallest amount sharper to me, but it's not much, if any. Next image is still at 200 millimeters, but this is all about chromatic aberration and any kind of issues in the corners. We're going to look at this whole image, but it's shot against a solid gray-white sky, and these tree branches give us lots of opportunity to find issues where the optics may not be up to par. And in this instance, I would say there might be the slightest amount of vignetting, a little bit darker in the corners, just the smallest amount compared to anywhere else in the image on the 20 to 200. I would also say that the 20 to 200 is a little darker. I'm not sure if that was due to the lighting changing. It was pretty flat lighting, but all my settings were identical. So, and there was no filters or anything on either lens. So let's zoom in and see how well the chromatic aberration is handled. So I've zoomed in to 100%, and this is the exact, or pretty close to the center of the frame. And as far as sharpness goes, again, I would have to say it's pretty much a tie. And if I had to, just because I spent a lot more money on the 100 to 400, I would say that it's the slightest bit sharper. Also, there is definitely some sort of maybe a color cast or a little bit more yellow, it looks like, or either that or the 100 to 400 is a little bit more blue. But obviously, there's a slight difference in the color in the sky between the two images. This is at 100%, and this is in the upper right corner. Now, the frame's going to look just slightly different because of the way that the 100 to 400 mounts to the tripod versus the smaller lens. And here's where we can start to see some definite issues. The 100 to 400 is doing way better in the corners, pretty much in every measurable way. It's definitely softer in the Sigma, and we're going to go ahead and zoom in even further and take a look at this so we can really see what's going on at, like, we'll go to 400%. This is at 400%. The Sigma is on the left, and my 100 to 400 Sony is on the right, and obviously there's no comparison. The Sigma is struggling big time. A lot of purple fringing chromatic aberration that is happening in the less expensive Sigma lens. And on the right-hand side, the 100 to 400 looks pretty much flawless. There is absolutely no issues whatsoever. And this is in the upper right-hand corner, so I imagine all the corners are going to have this same type of issue. I decided to do just a quick recomparison. We're at 400%, but we're back in the middle of the photograph, and you'll notice that the Sigma does much better. Obviously, the center of the lens is doing a much better job. There's no chromatic aberration. It looks really, really good compared to the 100 to 400 here as far as sharpness, detail, and any kind of chromatic aberrations. It's really, really close. Next, we're going to take the 24 to 105 and take a look at it. This is at 100 millimeters, Sigma on the left, the 24 to 105 Sony on the right. At first glance, they are absolutely identical, no issues whatsoever. Let's zoom into 100% on this one. Let's look right here in the middle of this tree. Let's zoom into 100% here. And it absolutely is zero. Absolutely zero difference. Let's check the chromatic aberration issues against the 100 to 400 versus the 20 to 200 at 100 millimeters. This is the full frame, and it looks pretty much identical on both sides. Again, I still see that the Sigma looks the background looks a little bit of a different color than the 24 to 105. It's just slightly different. It's slight, but it's definitely there. I don't think it's a bad thing, but it's definitely worth noting that it's not identical. And I don't think there's going to be any two lenses that are ever going to make that happen. So let's take a look when we zoom in. All right, this is the middle of the frame, and between the two, I would say that sharpness, they are absolutely identical. I can see no difference in the sharpness, like right here versus right here. It looks absolutely identical, the same. Now, even at 100 in the middle, you know, if I'm really stretching, maybe there's a little bit of purple fringing going on back here. The 24 to 105 definitely looks a little cleaner, I would say, in the very, very smallest of branches against the sky. But let's take a look at a corner, because that's really going to be the telltale. This is the lower right-hand corner, and to be honest, I'm seeing a little bit of fringing on both lenses. A little bit of chromatic aberration. The purple side is rearing its head again. The one on the right is my 24 to 105, and you can see just here at 400%. Now we're seriously pixel peeping here, people. There's definitely some purple fringing happening along these very, very small branches. And we look over here on the Sigma, and it is occurring as well. Let's take a look at that tree image again. I wanted to look at the corner sharpness. Now, you would not believe how hard it is to keep the exact same composition between two lenses, and even using a tripod. So this is actually the lower left corner of both images. Again, the 24 to 105 on the right and the Sigma on the left. And I'll be honest with you, I think the Sigma looks a little bit better than my 24 to 105 in the corners, as far as this corner down here. This right in here seems to be a little bit softer than right here. Looks a little bit sharper. So let's take a look at the upper left corner. We'll go all the way up here to the top. And again, the composition is going to be just a little bit different, because it is what it is. It was very, very hard to make it exact, because I was trying to zoom with both lenses to exactly 100 millimeters. You notice it says 100.6 for the Sigma. It's close enough. So looking at the two here, again, it's too close to call. I can see no difference between the corner sharpness in the Sigma versus the 24 to 105. And again, if anything, if I had to choose just by my gut looking at the two, I would say that the corner sharpness at 100 millimeters is a little bit better than the 100 millimeter sharpness on the 24 to 105. Now let's move to the widest end of the Sigma. This is 20 millimeters, as wide as it goes, and I'm comparing this one against the 16 to 35. And right off the bat, it's very evident that that Sigma lens has a slightly warmer tone to it, overall color, compared to the Sony lenses. The Sonys are definitely a little bit more blue, and the Sigma is a little bit more yellow, a little bit more warm toned, I should say. Before we zoom in, let's just take a look between the two for any vignetting, especially on the Sigma at 20 millimeters, which is its widest angle. And to be honest, I would say that it's super slight, but possibly there's some vignetting happening in the upper left and the upper right. Since the 16 to 35 is pretty much in the middle of its focal range, I'm not seeing anything whatsoever in the image on the right with that 16 to 35. It looks absolutely perfect. Last, let's take and zoom in and take a look and see what it looks like as far as sharpness goes. Let's just move around a bit. I'll pause as I move so we can take a look. And let's look at the very, very top up here where we've got these red playground monkey bars against the white sky. And this looks fantastic. I don't see any issues on either image at all. It looks fantastic. No difference whatsoever. It's just indistinguishable, besides that little bit of vignetting that we're seeing on the Sigma at 20 millimeters in those corners. So what's the verdict? Is the image quality from the Sigma equal to what I'm getting from my Sony lenses that cost much, much more money? And the obvious answer is no, it's not. There are definitely issues, as you've seen, but I think the more important question is it worth the $999? And for me, that answer is a resounding absolutely. I found this lens to be extremely sharp, and I found the weight, the size, the handling of it to be absolutely outstanding. For me, this is going to be my primary walk-around lens, and I'm going to shoot with it exclusively to the extent that I can for the next couple of months, just to really get a feel for it instead of the short test that I did in the video. If you subscribe to the channel and hit that like button, you'll be notified every time I release a video, and you'll be able to see the image quality, the images that come from this lens. I also think this is a fantastic lens for those just getting starting and not wanting to drop $3,000, $4,000 on a lens, or $6,000 or $7,000 on a trio of lenses. They can get a really, really good quality lens in a small package for under $1,000. To sum it all up, the Sigma 20-200 is an excellent lens for, at least for the Sony platform. It's lightweight. The zoom range is fantastic from the wide angle all the way to the zoom. It's extremely sharp, fast focusing. It never misfocused a single time that I used it. And the shortcomings with the chromatic aberration and the little issues that you might have on your edges is easily fixable in Lightroom. This lens punches way above its weight, and I can't recommend it enough. Also, don't forget to check out my website, www.jamesparkerphoto.com. I've got my workshops for 2026 are up and listed, and you get to pick where you want to go and when you want to go. If that sounds like something that's interesting to you, be sure to check it out. You can also sign up for my free newsletter. I promise not to spam you to death. You'll get an update on what I'm doing, where I'm going every month or so. I'll end the video with some images that I took with the Sigma 20-200 up in Vancouver, BC. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.